Welcome back to my channel. I am Anushka and welcome to part 3 of books especially for beginners. Now I know being a beginner is difficult. You want to read books but you don't know how. You find books boring or you're not enough motivated to start reading a book. If that is the case, then this video is just the perfect one, because you might have picked up a romance novel and not enjoyed reading that. Then it's alright. I have some recommendations in thriller genre. If you don't enjoy reading fiction, be it horror, sci-fi, romance, then I have some inspirational, motivational books which you can read right now, and all of these are beginner friendly. What do I mean by beginner friendly? Well, they are easy to read, they are in simple language, and they are engaging to read. So you won't feel like, oh god, this is boring to read, this is like an academic book. No, it isn't. You'll enjoy reading this book. So before I start with specific recommendations, I have two specific categories for absolute beginners who find reading English books intimidating. Yes, two categories. The first one is reading children's novel. Yes, start with these. You might feel it is an unobvious choice, but trust me, you'll enjoy reading children's novels. As an adult, I have tried that. I've recommended The Little Prince in one of my previous videos, and so many of you actually loved reading it, adults, because it is just full of innocence. That's what children's books are for. Of course, they are easy to read, you know, vocabulary is extremely easy, language is very simple, they provide escapism. Most of them are full of fantasy. So in this video, I'll recommend Alice in Wonderland. Another one that I'd recommend is Anne of Green Gables and Matilda series. Love all of them. The second category is reading Indian romance novels. Yeah, okay, this might be controversial, but I stand by it. The thing is, these books are written for beginners. The writing style is very easy, alright, and the story is engaging. It might be cliche, I know, but as a beginner, you don't start with reading literature or classic. Your reading taste evolves, and it is okay to start with reading these kind of books. It's totally fine. Don't tell others what you're reading, and please don't be judgmental of other people's choices. These books will give you confidence that hey, you started reading a book. Alright, let's start with teenage recommendations. The first one that I have is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I'll be very honest, the first time that I read it years back, I found it overrated and lacking plot. But a year back recently, before giving it away, I reread it and gave it a shot, and I enjoyed my time reading this book, which is why this book is in this list. So this is a story of twins, Kath and Ran, who have recently started their college and moved into a hostel. So one of them is an extremely introvert person, the other one is an extrovert. So how they deal with changing dynamics, you know, new relationships, budding friendships, change of surroundings, and living in a hostel and all that stuff, I feel like teenagers especially would relate with this book. And yeah, highly recommend this book to teenagers. The next one on the list is Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. Though this book at the outset presents itself as a book dealing with mental illness. So we have a girl named Audrey, who's 14-year-old, who just stays at her home wearing glasses, does not speak much with people. She has extreme social anxiety. But that's the outset. What I personally felt about after reading this book is it caters to a lot other topics as well, that is choosing an unconventional path, and how we have this pre-notion about our parents, the preconceived notion about our parents, that they wouldn't understand our aspirations or our unconventional careers. It is short, simple, fun, it has humor, it is fun to read, and it is written in an unconventional way as well. Highly recommend these. Next, let's talk about some adult fiction. In this category, I'll start with A Man Called Ove. Yes, it's pronounced as Uva, not Ove or Uvi or whatever. You can Google it. I know it's extremely popular, and for the right reasons. I personally don't find it overrated. It's one of those heartwarming books which will give you happy tears, you know. You'll laugh, you'll smile, and you'll cry while reading this book. It is a story of this grumpy old man who has recently lost his job and who is just obsessed with rules. You might find him rude and grumpy from the exterior, but once you will get to know him, you'll start loving him. Things actually start changing when a young couple moves next to him. and it is about, you know, neighborhood, it is about companionship, it is about grief, it also does have, you know, that pure romance. Next I have Midnight Library. This is a perfect blend of inspiration plus an engaging storyline. So if you're someone who does not really like reading self-help books but wants to get motivated and inspired, then this is a perfect book for you. And mind you, this is not complex, so don't expect a lot from it, but if you're a beginner, you will definitely enjoy reading it and get inspired from it. So this is a story of a woman in her late 30s, Nora, who is just fed up of her life. She doesn't know where her life is taking, and she decides to quit her life and take her life. And once she does that, she ends up in an in-between world, that is afterlife and before death, where she lands up in a library and she can choose from n number of books, and how her life could have been if she could have taken a different decision. You know how we are so regretful about our decisions at. Next I have Daisy Jones and the Six. This book actually took me by surprise. I wasn't motivated enough to read this book, though I had heard so much about this book, but I was like, you know what, I'm not interested about reading a band or music. But guess what, this book from the start will hook you. You would want to know about this band, even if it's fictional. You will feel like you're part of this band. There is this Daisy, there is Billy, and their story. You want to know what exactly happened. Though you know, you can assume a lot of things, but I don't know how this book is written, but it's extremely, extremely engaging. Maybe because it is written in a documentary form, and you have these dialogues which are humorous, and you feel like you're a part of this story. That's what I feel. That's what I felt while reading this book. Like I was a part of this band, and I could feel their pain, addiction, their dealing, you know, them dealing with their flaws, and it being a little realistic, and friendships, relationships, companionship, all that stuff. So highly recommend this book to each and everyone, adults especially. Next I have the most versatile and popular genre, thrillers. The first one in this category is Behind Her Eyes. This book is all for its ending. Trust me when I say this, the ending is unpredictable. I mean, I cannot, once I read the ending, I was like, how can the writer even think about an ending like that and execute it so well? Not just the ending, the entire book is of course engaging, which is why I could finish this book. So it is from the exterior, it's a love triangle between these three people. There is Louise, a single mother, then there is this dysfunctional couple who are not happy in their marriage, Adele and David, and all three of their lives intertwine with each other, and what leads to it is something you'll have to check out. The next one is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is a book which was highly recommended by one of my favorite booktubers, that is Gabby Reads, and for the longest time it was in my TBR, but now that I've read it, I will recommend it highly from my end as well. This is one of those little dark, gory thrillers, and the ending has a moral to it as well, and it is done quite well. So this is a story of this woman named Jules, who's recently lost her job. She's been sacked off, and she's also moved on from a live-in relationship. She does not have a family. She just has this best friend she stays with, but she's in intense search for a new job, and she finds this ad one day in a newspaper for an apartment sitter. Now what does this apartment sitter has to do? Nothing. He or she or they just have to sit in an apartment, and they'll get paid to sit in this. Start changing when she starts living in that apartment. What exactly happened is something you'll have to read yourself. Next I have an underrated Indian thriller which has also won Costa Award, and I didn't know about this book. Trust me, this book deserves all the hype it can get right now. It is done so beautifully. It talks about such serious and intense topics. The book is Witness the Night. What a great book this is. From the first page itself, it will hook you. It is the story of 13 murders. There is a family, and 13 people of this family have been killed, and the only suspect the police has arrested is a 14-year-old girl Durga from the crime scene, but she doesn't speak what has happened. She isn't speaking to anyone. It's not that she's become silent like the silent patient, but she's just maybe dealing with her trauma. So a social worker, Simran is called, to investigate, not just investigate, but to speak with this girl. And once she start investigating this case, a lot of things unfold. So this story is about female infanticide, child abuse, mental trauma, rape, orthodox family, many things, and it is done so well. There are rants, pages of rants full of Indian culture, society, and yeah, it is not for kind-hearted, but a book which I will highly recommend everyone to read. So yeah, that was it with thrillers. Now let's move on with sci-fi. Yes, though sci-fi is not my favorite genre, nor it is my go-to genre, but these are the two books which I personally, not being a fan of sci-fi, still enjoyed. So these are like easy breezy sci-fi books. The first one is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Wow, okay. This is a thriller which is, from the first page itself, will hook you. So this is about this physicist Jason, who has a family, and one day he gets abducted and wakes up into a new world where he does not know people. He finds that wherever he is a different world. What exactly happened to him? How did he get abducted? What leads to this abduction? So this book follows the themes of, family. It follows the theme of regret, life's choices, love, relationships, time. Next one is one of the recent popular books, that is Project Hail Mary. Yes, I have read The Martian, which is why I gave the Project Hail Mary a go. As I said, I'm not a fan of sci-fi, but this one I did enjoy because it has that mystery to it, What did actually happen? How did Ryland Grace, that is the main character, land up on this spaceship? What will happen? Why does he not know anything? He's dealing with dementia. He does not know why he is on this spaceship, what is his mission, and for the first few pages, he does not even know that he is on a spaceship. So it is that intense, it is that mysterious, this story is. Now I have romance recommendations. Though I already have a dedicated video on romance recommendations and on thrillers, you can check for those videos for more recommendations. But in this video, I'll just include two of them. The first one is Love, Rosie. This is a book which I had heard so much about, but didn't exactly wanted to read because I thought it'll be boring and it'll be cliche, but no, it is just refreshing, especially the format in which it is written. It is written in letter format. For the first few pages, you need to deliberately keep your mind to it, but once you get the hang of it, you start enjoying it, and it feels much more immersive because you're reading letters and you feel much more connected with the characters. So it's about these two friends, childhood friends actually, Alex and Rosie, and it's their journey from being kids to the time they grow older in their life. The next one is again Love Hypothesis. I'm quite sure you would have heard about this book. It's extremely popular these days. I read it in just 2 sittings, I guess. It is that engaging. Loved it. I actually loved it. Yes, it does have that steamy romance a bit here and there, but if you I'm not the one who likes steamy romance, but I do enjoy fake relationship kind of trope. It does have that, and it also has science trope to it. So it has this PhD student Olive, who has recently enrolled into a college, and there she meets this professor who's grumpy, and they start this fake relationship because of Olive's friend. And will this fake relationship turn into a real one or not, and how they from enemies become not lovers, but they start from enemies. So this is a story you will enjoy reading. Next, I have some classic recommendations. Yes, I've said this enough number of times that classics are not for beginners, but here are 3 books which I would say that if you're interested in reading in classics, then start with these. Also, I've recommended few others in my previous videos as well. The reason being classics are not for beginners is because the language is difficult and it's not relatable. The vocab is difficult, the writing style is different, so you don't actually relate with it, so which is why you don't enjoy these classics. But these are the 3 ones which I would say are easy, fairly easy to read. The first one is Catcher in the Rye. This is a young adult coming of age novel, which is the story of this troubled teenager, 16-year-old boy Holden, who's just confused about his life. He's recently been expelled from his school, and the story is written from his perspective, and he rants about things, his life, how he's troubled, and how he does not relate with a lot of things, how he has different dynamics with his family. The second one is a picture of Dorian Gray. This definitely does not feel like reading a classic because of the language. Yes, the setting is like a classic of Victorian age. So we have this painter Basil, who one day meets this wealthy man, rich man. Why did I do this? No, he's actually wealthy. So Dorian Gray is actually a wealthy man, and Basil meets him and he finds him so attractive that he starts painting him. And this book is all based on this painting, the picture of Dorian Gray, and this is quite ironic. It's a metaphor, and once you'll finish this reading this book, the ending is of course shocking. The third one of classic that I would recommend is Rebecca. This is one of those gothic romance novels that I read and actually loved. Okay, I wouldn't say it is complex or it is engaging to read, but it does have that feeling that will keep you hooked till the very end. So this is a story of an unnamed, so we don't actually know the character's name from whose point of view this book is set. We just know that this is a lady, she's a young lady, and she's recently married this wealthy man, and she's moved, who was widowed. This man was widowed, and she's moved into a estate, his castle, and there she finds some gothic things happening, dark things happening about his past wife. So it has that dark vibe to it, and it has romance to it as well, and it is enjoyable to read. So yeah, that's one classic. And now let's move on to some non-fiction books. Yes, I have some non-fiction recommendations as well. The first one is Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I loved this book. I actually listened to it as an audiobook, and boy oh boy, did it change me for at least 2 days or not. Yes, it did. So this is extremely raw. I wouldn't say relatable, but it's extremely realistic, honest. So there are self-help books which teach you that you should be productive, you should do this, you shouldn't think about others, and do what you want to do what you love. Yes, it does tell you exactly these things, but in a much more realistic way, because the author Rachel tells her story of not being flawless, of being a person who has dealt with her own problems, and she does not shy away from sharing her vulnerable side. The next non-fiction that I have is Steal Like an Artist. This is a book which is something that I would not just recommend to creators or people in the creative background, but everyone to read, because there is this thing, we have this preconceived notion that copying something is not good. The thing is, we all get inspired from one thing or the other. So if you're starting out, it's totally fine if you're getting inspired from someone's work, or you don't have to be perfect from the start. You can start from average. You'll learn, you'll grow. At least just take action and just get inspired. Steal like an artist. It does not matter. Everyone gets inspired from one person or the other. Not everyone takes action. The people who take action make a difference. Highly recommend Steal Like an Artist. And last but definitely not the least is The Almanac of Naval Ravi Khan. This one I actually read twice. The first time that I read, I went to just, I guess, 20 or 30 pages, and I found it a little not for my taste, not suitable for my taste. Then the second time I listened to the audiobook, and that's when I enjoyed listening to this audiobook, this whole book, because it does have a lot of lessons. It does come from wisdom, and I wouldn't say that I've applied all the lessons or even one lesson, but while I was listening to this audiobook, I could feel that hey, I can achieve a lot of things in my life. And that's what reading non-fiction and these self-help books does. At least it gives you that motivation and inspiration for the time being. It might not last for longer, but for that time being, you feel good about yourself and you feel like you can accomplish everything. Okay, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you got one recommendation for yourself. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I do these reels, snippets of book recommendations in 15 seconds, in 60 seconds. I hope you get recommendations from there as well. We do play a lot of games on Instagram as well. And yeah, that's it with this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books. What are your reviews? Inspire other beginners to read books, and don't forget to check out the beginners playlist, which will be mentioned in the description box as well and in the I button. And yeah, I'll see you later with another video. Until then,